Hi, this is Mark at learnhowtogarden.com, and in today's episode we're going to be showing you how to construct a wire framework which can be used to grow raspberries, blackberries, loganberries, tayberries, trained fruit. But it's so important to get this framework in properly and the wires tight enough, otherwise the whole thing will collapse normally just as you're about to pick your fruit. If you're not already subscribed to us at Learn How to Garden, there is a link below this film that'll take you over to our website. If you input your email address, that means we can let you know every time a new film goes out, and it also means you get access to our free monthly newsletter, which contains lots of relevant information on recipes, other things that just don't appear on the general sort of site. The main reason for this support is to support climbing soft fruit, because they can't support themselves. They will ramble across the ground. One, that's untidy. Two, the fruit tends to get messy. They'll root everywhere and they can't, you're not in control. So really this is a control thing. It's to control the fruit where you want to grow it. And what you're going to need for a start are some stakes. Now these are pressure treated stakes, which mean they'll last longer. And notice this is 8 feet long. It's a really big stake. That's because you need to get a couple of feet of it into the ground, and you need about 6 feet above the ground. Raspberries are big plants. Blackberries, tayberries, things like that are massive plants, so you need enough space. So that's the first thing. The next thing I would suggest is a spirit level. You're going to be looking at these for a long time. You don't want it in one key. A set of short steps, a measure. If you can hire one of these. This is a Posthole Banger, and it'll do two things. It's safer for putting the posts in. Also, it won't split the post. If you try to do this with a sledgehammer, 50% of the time you will split the post, and that's the last thing you want to do. And last but not least, you need high tensile wire. Some of the smaller things you need, these are wire tensioners. Basically they're 2 screws and when you turn the middle they will really tension that wire up, and it's that wire tension that you need to support it. And some of these little U-nails, and they are to hold the wire onto the posts. So we take our post, and right on the end of the bed where you haven't dug it over, get your post in vertically. And this is why you need these steps. You're going to take this, and this is going to go right on top of the post. You can now see why hiring one of these is a good idea. And all you do is pick up and pull down. Up, down. After 2 or 3 times, stop and just check, using your spirit level, that it's vertical. And just move the level round to make sure, because if it's slightly out, now's the time you can change it. If you keep going, you won't be able to change it. And like I say, the part about keeping it vertical is really so that it looks okay for you every time you walk in this garden for the next 10 years. Once your stake's been knocked in slightly, what you need to do is measure down. Come down a couple of inches, and then you want to measure 18 inches apart. So we're going to have 4 wires, and then come right down, so you've got about 72 inches of the post. Write a mark at the bottom, because that's how far you're going to knock the post into the ground. So we take our wire, come round the post and cross over. Take your tensioner and just slip it under, so that make sure there's enough room for it. And then where this crosses over, bend it round, is where you're going to take your staple and put it in. And when you put the staple in at about 45 degrees, just make it tighter. Now to nail that in, take out your eye, come round to this side and support the actual upright with your body. Otherwise, as you're banging, you're putting all the pressure on, and just very quickly put that staple in. Then you bend the wires back, and then as though you're doing a twist tie, twist these around each other. And this will make it nearly impossible for this to come undone. Once you've twisted, just neaten off the edges. Bend that down, and there is your first tensioner on. What we now do is go to the other end with a much longer piece of wire. For straining wires, I've always found the best wire to use, in my experience, is this stainless steel electric fence wire. That's because it doesn't rot over time. It's quite high tensile, which means that you've got a lot of strength, but at the same time it's quite malleable. And what you do is you take your wire, come around your post once, across the top, round again, and feed through, creating this knot, which is a clove hitch. Bring that round to the front of the post, and then literally just wrap around again so that it can't slip through. And then take your wire and feed it across to the strainer at the other end. Make sure your straightener is open as far as it will go. Take your wire off to the post. Thread it through the straightener. Pull it as tight as you can, and again wrap it round. Now, even if you've pulled it really tight, it's not going to be tight enough. So once you've wrapped it round, this is where you can then, just by turning this straightener, tension up this wire. And the great thing about this is that as you turn it, it tensions both sides simultaneously, tightening the wire. And remember that these things are quite heavy in the summer, so you do want this quite tight. It also means that you have the option to tighten it or loosen it as you go along. So we'll get all 4 of these on and show you what it looks like finished. So quite simply, you've now got your 4 straining wires about 18 inches apart, and that's more than enough to grow any of your soft fruit up against quite happily. This bed is only going to have one particular tayberry in, so we've actually only got 2 posts. If I was actually going to do a longer one of these, I'd put one of these posts probably about every 12 feet. Also, these are quite small posts. If you're going to have a very long row, the end ones could probably do with being 3 to 4 inch ones, in which case you're not going to be able to knock them in by hand very easily. Very quick, very simple. It's what you're going to need to do to grow any of the cane fruit we talked about. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you found that interesting.